So my family is Republican for the most part. And when I was growing up, I was so confused as to why they would be Republican. I do not believe in the party system. I think that it's all a bullshit scam, and people are starting to see this. I definitely do not believe in what a Republican believes in, because the problem is the more research you do into Republican beliefs, it's all bullshit. When I was in college and I had to live with my dad, I was trying to understand, why is he such a Republican? How does this ideology start? So I literally was like, let's see what happens. I started listening to all the podcasts, Joe Rogan, all that shit. I started trying to understand, I would hear clips on Fox News. I would try to understand where they're coming from. And the more and more I searched for answers, the more and more I started to understand it's all a lie. They're just manipulating people. And I knew this off the baseline, but I didn't know just how bad it got. I want to use a good example. Republicans like to talk about the idea of identity politics, where basically it's this fucked up belief that they think that people are basically saying, oh, because I'm gay or a certain race or a certain gender, I should get away with something or lack accountability. That's the whole premise of their idea of accountability and their idea of identity politics. And the funniest thing is that Republicans are the biggest users and purveyors of the idea of identity politics. I just saw a segment where they were talking about Renee Nicole Good and her murder. And they were saying, oh, well, she had pronouns in her bio. She was a self-proclaimed poet and she passed away. And she left behind a husband. The husband was a vet who allegedly, from my knowledge, has passed away. And you can see the framework there. They are putting everything on this idea that they have cultivated when it comes to identity politics. And what follows under that is for an example, their idea that if you have pronouns in your bio, you're a horrible human being, you're a liberal, you're all of this shit. They have conditioned a whole mass of people to associate the idea of using pronouns as to being a quote unquote raging liberal. And that's the problem, is that Republicans are taught buzzwords and they are actually taught to react and not to think. These people, including the people who fall for this rhetoric, and I know that's really sad because y'all are going to be like, oh, well, the people are stupid, they don't know. Yeah, they're stupid and they don't know. They're still a fascist. If you are partaking in this system and you are propping up Republican thoughts and ideologies, or some harmful Democratic ideologies, because let's not lie, the Democratic Party has a ton of fucking harmful ideologies. And I know you guys are gonna go, oh, well, no, I'm sorry, but last time I checked, Obama was one of the sitting presidents who bombed the fuck out of the Middle East. There are still harmful things. The problem that you guys are not seeing, and this is the issue that I have with everyone in this country, you guys look at the system like it can unshackle you, and it is the warden, it is the perpetrator, and it is quote unquote your grace period, right? Like, oh my gosh, we're so free right now. It's because the system allows it. The system works how it's supposed to work. And the problem that I have with you guys is you lack to see the fact is anything can happen in a system. Yes, there can be good periods and there can be bad periods, but it's a part of the system. And you're acting like a president can come and change that. And that's not how the system works. It is literally a pulley system if you look at it. It's a game of tug of war. You have a Democratic president, they get in, they change a lot of stuff. Then you have a Republican president, they get in, and they change a lot of stuff. And the fucked up thing is that a lot of these changes it's like a ripple effect, because there's gonna be effects throughout history after that point. So we're kind of just fucking ourselves if you think about it. Look at the Reagan period, Reaganomics, fuck this country to this day. And there are still people who are trying to recoup that. And there are some good things that have happened that are protecting our country. But the problem that I'm starting to see is that people don't have the nuance to understand that, hey, these are the way these systems work. And I feel like we need to stop excusing the actions, and some of you have been excusing the actions of being involved with certain parties or certain ideologies, and, excusing stupid people, oh, where they're just stupid. That doesn't mean anything. You decided, you are actively deciding with the information that you have, unless it's a special case, you are a fascist. If you are aligning with these people who condone murder, who condone killing, my biggest red flag, if you're sitting here saying, oh, protesting is bad, you're a fascist, because it is well within our right to protest. And I feel like people aren't having these critical conversations or thinking, because the thing is that it's a tough situation because it's very nuanced. And you guys are like, no, it's not nuanced. Nothing about hate is nuanced. And I'm sorry, but that's not true. These people are conditioned to hate. Now, does that mean it's right? No. But you can't sit here and act like, oh, well, they just hate and that's it. The black and white view is what got us here. There are shades of gray. I think that we need to see that the hard part about it is that this is a system where if you really want to change things, we need to teach them the right way. And that's the hard part. And I was watching an educator's video about how she was a tutor and she was noticing that this is like a boys' world. And what she noticed was that boys, because she tutored children and watched them, grow up, boys often have to be catered to, and we often have to handle boys in the way that we have to teach them the right way because this is a man's world. She was noticing that when boys and girls were asked what they wanted to do, girls knew what they wanted to do. And even if they didn't know every step, they had a projectile. So they would be like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I have to go to school, and then I have to do a residency. It's simple. And they're children she's working with, right? When you ask boys, they'd say, I want to be a millionaire. And they would have no step to get there. And something that I found really interesting about that video is that I realized that, this has been right. We set up boys and we do not challenge our boys, and they are mediocre. And that is something that I actively try to fight against with myself and my own child. Because what do you mean you're not teaching your boys to think ahead? You're not challenging your boys. There's even a saying, boys will be boys. Oh, they don't need to think about that. That's for later. And if you look at it through many cultures, women and girls are the ones that are expected to take care of things. You know how many friends that I've had, specifically, for example, in the Arab community? I have a lot of friends who are girls from the Arab community, from different countries, who the girls are always expected to take care of everything. The girls are expected to, grovel and beg to go out with their friends. They're expected to clean. They're expected to cook. They're expected to get ready to get married and have heavy expectations upon them. The boys have different expectations. And I have seen many, many people slide away with nothing. Now, while it's not my culture specifically, I do have a child that is from that culture. And it's something that I actively try to raise them to not see or to not think is acceptable. Because the problem is that we see that formats, and that's okay, and that it gets carried on through generation. And then you have a brainwashed generation of girls thinking that this behavior is okay. And that's not just exclusive to any sort of culture or community. We see that in America a lot. I think people are quick to look at other cultures, but the call is coming from inside the house. And how does this pertain to politics? How does this pertain to Republicans? Because the thing is that if you look at it, the backbone of our society and our communities literally sets it up so that we can have men be mediocre. We can have men do what they want. And something that she talked about in her video that I found really interesting is that they actively go out of their way to discourage women from doing anything, because who is going to marry these men? Who is going to take care of these men? Who is going to settle for less? And honestly, that is translated into our society, into our class structure. We see so much red pill content. We see so many ideas and ideologies. And there is a reason why they are a pipeline to things like the Republican Party. So you need to consider these things. This doesn't just start, things are always more nuanced. And hate doesn't just appear. Someone isn't just like, I'm evil. There are reasons for it. Am I saying those are excusable? No. But I am saying that a lot of it can be preventable. We can start having these conversations. Because the problem that I'm seeing is that people are lacking nuance. People are lacking the understanding that people can change. And one of the things that I say is if I see a Republican who has genuinely changed their life and has genuinely changed their outlook. I just saw a woman, she was an insurrectionist, and she stormed the Capitol. She was making amends, and she did not accept her pardon from the president because she knew what she did was wrong, and she changed her beliefs, and people were criticizing her, oh, a little too much too late. But the thing is she still made the change. And I know we don't want to hear it, but if we shame people who genuinely change, people are not going to want to change. So that's a lot of thoughts. There's a lot to unpack there, and I have a lot more to say. I'm not defending these people. They're fucking fascist. But we need to create an environment where people feel okay to change. And the hard part about it is it shouldn't be on us. And it's a lot more complicated than just that. But these are just some of my thoughts.